The idea, folks, is that Michigan is a good microcosm for what the rest of the country is going to do. Why is that? We coincidentally had very similar events happen on a state level about 4 years before it happened on a national level. Because of that, and the fact that it's a purple state, we've been seeing a baby version of national events play out in Michigan. This is not, of course, the only state where that happens. It happens frequently, but it's just been a very handy guide for figuring out what'll happen next. For example, before January 6th, we had our state capitol stormed with armed protesters, and they interrupted the session that was happening. We also had an attempted kidnap of our governor with the Wolverine Watchmen, who are now thankfully imprisoned, so on and so forth. But we did something else as well. In 2018, some rather clever activists got weed on the ballot. They reached across the aisle to do this. And they had a coalition of people who vote very differently from each other working hard to make sure that the just full legalization, stop bothering me, of marijuana was on the ballot. At the same time, well, gosh, so was redistricting, how we go about doing that. And we switched in this state. We switched from redistricting by the legislature, as in the people who get voted in decide who gets to vote for them. And we switched it to a bipartisan commission. And 2 election cycles later, check out where we are.
Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, and today we are going to be talking about the Michigan Republican Party, a major statewide GOP that is in a complete state of disarray following the 2020 and 2022 elections. Now, the Michigan GOP has been in quite a bad place for a while. We remember that in the 2022 governor's race, their top 5 candidates could not even field enough signatures legitimately and thus were disqualified by the State Board of Elections. Following that, the Michigan GOP re-elected their very, very right-wing conservative chair who refuses to give up the 2020 presidential election. For a while now, and even recently, the Michigan GOP has continued to assert the wrong lie that the GOP had the election stolen from them, that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him by President Joe Biden. This is the argument that has been made and ran on and lost by many members of the mainstream GOP in the 2022 midterms. The overwhelming majority of the nation believes that the 2020 election was fair. And yet somehow, a state that, again, Joe Biden won in the 2020 presidential election has continued to push down this line, push down this pathway of saying the election was stolen. This is an article from September 1st, 2023. September 1st, 2023. Saying that the Michigan GOP chair puts focus on investigation into alleged 2020 voter registration fraud. Point being, the quote is right, everything has fallen off a cliff. This is...
So, this fella, by the way, I'm trying not to promote giant streams as much, but really the ultimate deciding factor is how useful is it for you to see? How much concentrated useful information do they have? Let's Talk Elections doesn't need our help, but God damn, are they whoever runs this is good at what they do. They do a breakdown of the political landscape. Okay, why? Why do they have such unprofessional folks running this state party? And you gotta understand, you do not see parties run like this unless it is a state that is a solid color normally. If it is the party in power, they're not used to hunting for their dinner. If it's the party out of power, they're just preparing to starve. This is a party that's preparing to starve. Why is that? He's going to explain why. And we can use this. I agree with his assessment, and I think we can use it to our advantage.
Is a state that the Republican Party desperately needs in the 2024 presidential election. If they want a pathway to the presidency, it lies through Michigan. And seeing how this state voted for Joe Biden by a narrow amount, just 2.8% in the last presidential election, it is reasonable to believe that this state should be competitive yet again in 2024. But the collapse was nearly immediate following the election lies that Donald Trump proposed, that Donald Trump utilized. Here we have Kristina Karamo. This is the Michigan GOP chair who has been voted in multiple times by the state Republican Party. Somebody who has led this state into a complete state of disarray, moved the party to the right, moved the party closer to the one candidate who could not win it again in 2024, President Donald Trump. It doesn't just start with the election lies.
Hold up. He hasn't said it yet. He's about to say, as far as I know, he's about to say why they are led like this, why they are behaving this way. But I want to be clear. First of all, Kristina Karamo is fully crazy. I'm not trying to use that as an artful term for a person who behaves in a way I don't like. I mean, her grasp of reality is tenuous at best. But it's not her fault getting here. She's behaving exactly as she promised she would behave. It's more of a question of how. How was she put there? That has more to do with the fact that the way districts were drawn changed, and as a result, the voters got to experience actual good governance for the first time in an extraordinarily long time in this state. It was basically controlled. I know the presidential votes went this way and that, but it was basically controlled by Republicans for my life, for the years of which I have been conscious. So we weren't used to it. We just weren't used to a government being effective for us. But that changed after the districts were drawn fairly. And that led to this other thing that he's going to talk about.
Has been brewing time and time again as the conspiracy theories have taken full force into the Michigan GOP's chair, who has really only herself to benefit with some of the things that she's been doing. I mean, seeing how she has really strategized across the state to make the extremist part of the party the most prevalent in the GOP primary process.
Again, that's what she said she would do. So let's not call it incompetence. I don't think he is, but it was suggested, I felt like, with his tone, and that's not what it is.
In the GOP state leadership, whatever it might be, I mean, she has done everything to benefit herself and nothing to benefit the statewide Republican Party. The Michigan Republican Party is also broke. That isn't an understatement. You are talking.
There it is. It's the money, Lebowski. They ran out of money. Michiganders really don't donate to them anymore. Let me take that back. Michiganders will donate to Trump. Some will. God help me. Some will. But the impression from just folks around me that I have received is that there is just no point in donating to Republicans. There's no point in it. They don't clarify what they mean by that, which I find telling. And again, this is, what do they call it? Anecdotal. But that is the vibe here. The donations are down, and also they were reliant, the Michigan Republican Party, on the greater Republican Party. In fact, the Republicans all around the United States are reliant on the larger organizations to help them, because they need big dollar donors, because they don't have people. They have the loyalty of oligarchs, but not of people. And they cannot sustain themselves on a grassroots effort. And big businesses are not particularly interested in supporting the craziest folks. Not because they wouldn't if they thought it would work, but because they don't think these people will get elected. They see it as wasting their money as well. So Christina Caramo is doing everything she can to put forward the craziest folks. Now I am using that term too loosely. Let me try that again. To put forth rabid extremists who have no interest in government and only interest in holding power over other people, not helping other people, but controlling other people. But they don't have an interest in government. And as a result of that, they're losing donors. It's becoming a less and less relevant organization. Still very relevant, but it's waning, and I think it will continue to. Let's listen to some more, not all, but some more of this breakdown, because he makes some great points.
Bankrupt type of broke. This is one of the most previously powerful Republican parties across the country that won in 2016, came in and took a 28-year voting streak for Democrats and broke it in half, voted for the GOP. And yet ultimately, that was the start of their demise. Ironically enough, it took that time frame, 2016 to now, to completely throw everything to ruin. Being broke is one thing, but being extremist and continuing down a pathway, a losing pathway, is another thing. And don't even get me started on the most recent Michigan GOP meeting that resulted in a spinal injury, that resulted in a fist fight. I kid you not, there was a Michigan GOP meeting, the most recent one, July of 2023, that resulted in a physical fight between the members. If anything could, capture the state of the Michigan GOP, this is the perfect representation.
Yes, it is. I probably should have just done that on the other side. Let's go to the other side for a second. Yeah, it's not doing so good, folks. He kicked me in my balls. Not exactly class acts in government at the moment. Fascism's got no legs. They can't help themselves. It's not that we don't have to stay on guard. It's not that we don't have to have an organized effort here. Of course we do. And we need to also be more ambitious than just surviving. We should build. We should do what Michigan did in 2018 and take advantage of the tide of people that are going to be eager to ensure that we are not harassed anymore by a criminal organization calling itself the Republican Party, and push beyond just surviving. But make no mistake, we are Diana Ross. We will survive. And it would appear that we're going to survive by winning, and the Republicans will do everything in their power to help us do that. It's amazing. It really is. MAGA is for the Republican Party what the Democrats have been for leftists. Utter poison.